One thing is for sure, our policy towards Ukraine has not worked for the past 3 years. So maybe we should just see what happens. We begin tonight with Bill O'Reilly, host of the No Spin News, author of the coming book, Confronting Evil, assessing the worst of the worst. And if you look carefully at the cover of the book, which we will keep on the screen, an eagle-eye observer will notice Vladimir Putin's picture is displayed on the cover. Bill, good to see you. Why is Trump right in how he deals with Vladimir Putin? And I guess, does that make Ronald Reagan wrong in how he said we need to talk about the Soviet Union and the Russians?
It was a different situation with Reagan. You had there chaos within the Soviet Union and a weakness, and Reagan knew that. And he knew that if he pushed it, that the Soviet Union would surrender eventually, which happened, but it took years. Remember, the Berlin Wall came down under Bush the Elder, not Reagan. Here we have a different situation for Trump. So the Biden administration had 3 years to try to make some kind of deal, armistice, whatever. Putin would even take their calls. He was not interested in dealing with Joe Biden at all because he knew there was no downside if he ignored Biden, which is absolutely true. When these Democrats now come out and say, how can you say that Putin is this and Zelensky is that? Well, what's your solution, pal? Silence. They have no solution. Democratic Party has zero. Kamala Harris on the campaign trail never once mentioned any kind of strategy to deal with Putin. Never once. Didn't have any. Biden didn't have any. So now you have a new president who believes that he can control Putin to some extent. And the reason he believes that is that Putin is hurting. The economy, inflation, everything is bad in Russia. The casualties are unbelievable that Putin is taking. There is unrest in Russia, but it's a police state, so you'll never hear that, but there is. So Trump's assessment is, I'm going to get a deal with Putin. Not going to be the greatest deal, but it's better than no deal.
And the continuation
which would
of the war.
Continue ad infinitum, killings, mass killings, ad infinitum. Never stop. Putin's not going to say, I surrender, I'm going to stop, unless he gets something. Putin wants to save face.
Yeah.
Trump will make that happen.
Okay. So you made a point, though,
listen,
a while ago. You made a point a while ago about to Donald Trump, and by a while ago, I mean 2017, about the necessity to be clear-eyed about who Vladimir Putin is. Take a listen.
Will I get along with him? I have no idea. It's very
He's a
possible
killer,
I
though.
won't.
Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent? You think our country's so innocent?
I don't know of any government leaders that are killers in America.
Well, take a look at what we've done, too. We've made a lot of mistakes.
That's not what Reagan talked about, though. Reagan said there has to be good and evil. There has to be a understanding of that. It doesn't sound like Donald Trump sees the world that way.
He doesn't see it that way. He wants to stop the war in Ukraine. He's done a couple of clever things. Number one, he's going to get the mineral treaty with Zelensky in Ukraine. And the guise is that by us, the United States, being able to harvest some of the minerals and take profit, that Ukraine is paying us back. But that's not really what it is. Once we get that deal in Ukraine, we put structure, United States, American structure, into that country, which makes it much, much difficult for bad Vlad to drone it, to bomb it, because there'll be Americans there, a lot of them, and a lot of structure supplied by America. Number two, Putin's going to agree that Ukraine can join the EU. That means that there'll be European peacekeeping troops on the ground in Ukraine protecting those poor people. These are ignored by the Democratic Party and the corrupt corporate media in America. These are good things.
How do we know that?
I expect the deal to happen. How do we know what?
Well, you just said all these great things that are going to happen, and Vladimir Putin's out there saying we're nowhere close to a deal, no specifics have been agreed on, and you're talking about European peacekeepers joining the EU and U.S. infrastructure, which sounds a lot like nation building that we did in Iraq. How do we know these are the points of the deal?
No, it's not. Because Lavrov said so in Saudi Arabia, the second most powerful man in Russia.
He said there's going to be EU peacekeepers there?
He said, we're not going to have any, we're not going to have any trouble with Ukraine going into the EU. They just don't want NATO. No NATO. But you want to go to the EU, that's okay. And look, I know what I'm talking about, Leland. I know exactly what Trump is aiming for. He would like to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. That may or may not happen. That's not the most honest organization over in Norway, but he wants to get this thing settled. But I go back to my original point. Under the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, you had no chance to stop this war. None. And yet I see these people parade out, Schumer and all these other people, going, oh, no. Well, what do you got, pal? You don't have anything.
Okay.
And that really bothers me.
I understand that bothers you, but I think back to something Benjamin Netanyahu said about the Iran nuclear deal, which was a terrible deal. He said the alternative to this deal, when Obama was negotiating it, the alternative to this deal isn't no deal, it's a better deal. And to that point, by... Right, okay. You're basically saying
what's the better deal in Ukraine?
Right, that's my question.
What's the better deal?
Well, is the better deal how much land Putin has to give back? You said he has to be able to save face. Is allowing Vladimir Putin to save face a good thing? Why?
If the war stops, you have to do it because there's no other alternative. What is the other alternative? Ukraine's not going to defeat Russia on the battlefield.
The alternative is crippling energy sanctions against Putin. The alternative is trashing his economy and delisting all of his banks. No,
Putin doesn't
Biden absolutely didn't do that.
No, there's plenty of sanctions against Russia, but Putin doesn't care if his people are freezing in Siberia. He doesn't care if they don't have a lot to eat. I mean, you think Putin cares about his people? You got no leverage on this guy. That's why he's on the cover of Confronting Evil. He's like Hitler, he's like Mao, he's like Stalin. You got no leverage on him, none. So you either continue along with hundreds of thousands of people being brutalized, or you make the not-so-perfect deal that ends it, but provides an infrastructure for Ukraine to survive. That's what you do.
Okay, and you have no problem with Americans being put there, American investment in Ukraine?
Well, do I have a problem?
Yeah.
No. If America makes a deal, an economic deal with Ukraine, okay, that they'll harvest minerals, and that's what this Greenland thing is all about as well. Good. And Zelensky will sign that deal because it's good for Zelensky. He needs America to continue. Right.
Yeah, agreed.
He needs it. He has to do it.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
It puts limitations on bad Vlad.
Huh? We'll see, as they say. I like bad Vlad. Is that the chapter title in Confronting Evil?
Well, we call him all kinds of names. And I never say the words, we'll see, ever, because it's a cop-out. If you're being paid millions of dollars to go on television to do analysis, we'll see doesn't cut it, all right? You say, this is what it is.
Okay, well, I'm not paid millions of dollars, so I don't have that responsibility. The deep responsibility that you do.
You know what? You deserve to be.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
You know what, Bill? I always like ending these segments on true, harmonious thought between you and I, and a deep intellectual agreement.
I got a couple of tickets for you and your fiance to see me and Cuomo and Stephen A. Smith on March 30th on Long Island.
Rachel's already texting with how excited she is. She can't wait.
And because you don't make much money, I'm not going to charge you.
You're going to come. Thank you.
These are gratis tickets for you and Rachel.
It's right.
Okay?
It's ahead of a wedding, a guy's got to save money. Thank you, Bill.
That's right. We want everybody to check that out. It's going to be a great show. Thanks,
All right.
Leland. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.